All right, and welcome back. Now let's take a look at some of the stories making headlines in our local dailies. And with me, I have the Star newspaper. And on the front page, new poll. Ruto leads but can't win round one.
Clap.
Ruto wins, leads but can't win round one. That is according to the poll which was carried by Radio Africa Group Limited that shows that DP leads the 2022 race with 43%, Raila at 14%. That is on the front page of the Star newspaper. And there we still have pictures of our Kenya Under-20 championships that went down at the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani. Kenyans made it to the global standing with a total of 17 medals in total, bringing the country to #1 in the championship that ended yesterday. All right. Again, civil servants dash for COVID-19 vaccine amidst threat of salary cuts. Civil servants are in a panic as the 14-day window to have them take the COVID-19 jab ends today, that is on Monday. Public Service PS Mary Kimonye said public servants who would not have received their first jab by deadline risk losing their salaries, benefits and allowances. So it's going to be rush against time for the civil servants to get their vaccination. Another in politics now, Ruto chides Uhuru and Raila after court stops push for change in law. Deputy President William Ruto yesterday took a dig at his boss, President Kenyatta, and ODM leader Raila Odinga following the annulment of the BBI process by the Court of Appeal on Friday. Ruto said that the landmark ruling was a testament that leaders and those in positions of authority cannot use their powers for their selfish gains. We will be discussing this one much more with our analyst later on in the program, the next hour, so you have to stay tuned. And lastly, there's a story here of former Chief of Defense Forces, Julius Karangi, narrating how he flew the late Mzee Kenyatta's body to Nairobi. By then, he was a navigator in the Kenya Air Force based in Eastleigh Air Base. And he's just giving the first narration how on that 23rd, actually today, a date like this, in 1978, he was woken by a call to go and bring the body of late Mzee Kenyatta, who died at State House in Mombasa. So it's an interesting read that perhaps you can take a look at that. It's interesting. But Mzee died on 22nd of August in 1978.
All right.
That was a day like yesterday.
You know, we'll be giving you those details in a bit. But first, let me run you through the front page of the Daily Nation. There we go. Quite busy today. A number of stories have been featured here. We start with the two stories here at the top. One involving Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho. Given there is a company that is affiliated to him that is set to take over lucrative SGR cargo terminal in Nairobi, a move that has brought about a lot of protests from other firms and companies that were hoping to get this particular deal. We'll be giving you details in a bit. Then we have the story concerning Gisheru after he rejects the judge who will be hearing his ICC case, saying that she may have been involved in the Kenyan cases from way back. And that story has been captured here on the back page of this particular daily, where he of course, he's being accused of bribing 8 key witnesses in the case against the Deputy President William Ruto. But he says after doing a background check on the judge that was set to hear his case, he established that she was previously employed by the Office of the Prosecutor between 2006 and 2010. And he says that she may have assisted or been involved with the OTP's investigation in the various Kenyan cases that were then under Luis Moreno Ocampo. And he goes on to say that he fears the judge may have a forehand information about the cases facing him due to her previous involvement with the Office of the Prosecutor. So he has expressed his reservation about this particular judge that has been put to hear his case. Then we come to the story that we actually were able to get a live link about the arrival of the Moderna vaccine at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport earlier on this morning. 880,460 vaccines did arrive at around 6:30 a.m. therein. Of course, this is part of the donation by the U.S., which they had vowed to donate to so many other countries across Africa. But this is part of what we have received, part of the donation that they had committed to. We'll be giving you more details as has been captured on this particular daily. And again, our youngsters are making us proud. Impressive feat, Kenyan youngsters on top of the world after we bagged a total, here they've indicated 16 medals. And of course, from your daily, you did mention they indicated 17. So here they say 16 with 8 gold medals, 1 silver medal and 7 bronze medals. And of course, this is the 4th time Kenya has topped the medal standing, and of course our best performance in the last 10 years. And of course, this given is the 18th edition of this particular World Under-20 Championships. Finally, the battle shifts to Parliament. BBI battle. Now Plan B. We have Ruto and Mudavadi allies demanding refund of cash that was used in the campaign. And on the other hand, MPs that are allied to President Kenyatta are expected to revive the constitutional changes through the House this week. And following the ruling by the Court of Appeal that held the High Court's decision to declaring the BBI as illegal, now they have picked 52 clauses in the BBI proposal, which they say don't require a referendum to come into effect. This means they will bypass a number of requirements from public participation, even the referendum for that matter. It'll just have to go straight to the House. And this is something that MPs that are allied to the president are hoping will actually sail through. We'll be giving you these details in a bit. Doreen.
Right, let me just pick it up from that BBI. Of course, we know that after last week's ruling declaring the BBI unconstitutional by the Court of Appeal, it has elicited mixed reactions. There are those that are praising that ruling, there are those that are criticizing that particular ruling. And right now, the Attorney General, that is Kihara there, is set rather to go to the Supreme Court to appeal that particular ruling. And just to pick a bite from what he's saying here is that the president, just like any other citizen, enjoys civil and political rights, including the right to initiate amendments through a popular initiative. He further on continued to say that he has also raised 5 grounds of appeal, and he feels will overturn the decision, among them basic structure doctrine, presidential immunity, and president's role in law changes. So that is what is coming in just following that particular ruling that happened on Friday. So perhaps the question is, what next if this is what he's planning to appeal that ruling at the Supreme Court there? We also have still around the same breath, just talking about matters BBI, perhaps intertwined with politics, is that Uhuru calls NASA leaders to plot 2022 elections. And this is just apart from crafting an alliance. The Wednesday meeting, which is actually set for this particular week, will also discuss the BBI initiative that was declared unconstitutional by the Court of Appeal. So that is perhaps what is set to form part of the conversations that the president is set to have with the leaders there. And also, when you talk about the COVID-19 vaccine, there had been a lot of conversations surrounding the safety of this vaccine, specifically to pregnant women as well as lactating women. But right now, it's just coming out that pregnant and lactating women are said to get the vaccine. And also what the CS Health, that is Kagwe, had advised facilities is that when these women walk into these facilities, they need to be able to take this particular vaccines, just trying to shy away from that issue of safety. But again, I will give you more details in a short while, perhaps highlighting how this article has well put that into perspective, and perhaps just trying to also give reasons why it is safe for pregnant women as well as lactating women to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Coming to matters education right now, the CS Education, that is Professor George Magoha, is set to embark on a campaign that is to ensure that all KCPE students join Form 1. This is for those that have not yet joined. Remember that he had mentioned that he really intends and wants to ensure that there's 100% transition, of course, for those that start for their KCP, ensuring that they also get to join Form 1 there. Coming to business, right now it looks like the cost of ugali is set to go up, and this is after over the weekend KEBS banned about 27 brands. This is of inclusive maize flour as well as porridge flour, saying that this particular brands have high levels of aflatoxins. So which brands are this particular, which are of the maize flour as well as the porridge flour? I'll be just telling you about those particular brands, and you know why KEBS is actually saying that this particular brands have high level of aflatoxin. In a nutshell, that is how the front page of the PD looks like. Right.
Now, to just give you a sneak peek of what I have on this copy of the Standard, the front page is talking about matters of the BBI and focusing on what the Deputy President said in regard to that particular judgment that was made. And remember, Friday was quite a day where Kenyans were treated to quite what we term legalese. So there's been a conversation, was it a ruling or a judgment? The right position is that that was a judgment that was delivered on Friday and not a ruling. Remember, this comes at a time when the AG is set to take the BBI appeal to the Supreme Court, citing 3 sticky findings. And according to Attorney General Paul Kihara Kariuki, these areas include, rather what has said is that the Attorney General has not had an occasion to consider and evaluate the detailed reasoning behind the findings that were made by the various court appeal judges. That is a quote in page 5 of the Standard this morning. Now, the AG wants the Apex Court to determine the basic structure, doctrine, immunity, and amendment by a popular initiative. If you are following these proceedings on Friday, the issue of the basic structure and immunity as well as amendments by a popular initiative, there's one of the judges when he was giving his take, or rather, his judgment over the issue, or rather the appeal, they said that the president cannot be the executive in this matter, cannot be the ones leading a popular initiative. Well, so these are the three sticky findings of that particular judgment that the AG plans to take to the Supreme Court. And this particular outcome of the BBI is going to really shape how we do our politics. And in one of the stories that has been captured here is now Luo Nyanza. Politicians are saying we are now focusing on 2022. That BBI, well, is BBI and the ruling has been made. Now we are focusing on 2022. We'll be giving you the details basically from the front page and to the details what is happening in the political scene. Remember that particular ruling also has a great impact on some of the bills that have been pending in Parliament, and actually 3 of them are said are likely to suffer. It spells doom. Now, this particular bills include a bill sponsored by Ndarago MP Jeremiah Kioni, led Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee, and West Mugirango MP Vincent Kemose, who have proposals akin to the BBI. What next? And those positions that were set to be created under the BBI if it passed, well, some of the aspirants, including Gati, that is a member of parliament that is nominated a member of parliament, Denita Gati, has changed her mind over plans to vie for Senate seat following the judgment on BBI by the Court of Appeal on Friday. Ms. Gati represents persons living with disabilities, said she would instead go for the woman representative position. So, Victor, even as you tackle matters of iron politics, I think this is something that is likely to come in. So what next? What is the ripple effect of this judgment that was delivered on Friday in regard to matters of succession politics 2022, especially those people who wanted to vie for those seats that were created under this proposed bill that was shot down by the appellate court there on Friday?
Well, we have a lawyer here in studio who is going to help us to understand more on that. And some people are saying that, BBI was going to create more positions. Remember the positions of the Deputy Prime Minister, the Prime Minister, and any other post that were, created or were proposed in the constitutional amendment. So what next for these gentlemen and ladies who are gunning for these positions? We also have a case of the boundaries, remember? The 70 constituencies. That is also water under the bridge. and so much more. So we have a lawyer here in the studio who is going to help us to understand way better. So it's a good discussion. I can assure you, it's going to be a good discussion. But somebody was saying that the people who are supposed to be worried a lot are the people who are gunning for those positions that I've talked about. We have the president, the deputy president, we have got the prime minister, his two deputies or her two deputies, and all other positions. So the question is, what next? What next? That is a discussion that you don't have to miss in the next hour.
What next?
What next?
For me, that's a very pertinent question, because remember, this is a document that Onjiko did not fully interact with it. And when we were doing that spot check on Friday in various counties that our reporters were based in, some knew, and their sources of knowledge in regard to this particular proposed proposal under the BBI was the media. They never interacted with the document themselves. So what happened to civic education, public participation? I think that's a question that, Victor, really needs to be addressed when you are taking on our guest this morning, to just understand the legal process and also some of the judgments that were made. And we are all confused. There's someone who actually asked, why did the judges why did they keep on mentioning what has been happening in India? I know they're part of the Commonwealth and such. So we need to understand, because this judgment was made, yes, through the media, mass media, that is TV and radio. But there was a lot of legalese in as far as conversation is concerned. Jay.
This brings me to this particular piece here, Victor, that is also in line with this whole conversation with MPs now hatching a new plan to speed up the 52 BBI clauses. Now they're getting to the nitty-gritties of some of the bits in this proposal, and they have cherry-picked 52 clauses, 5-2. Of the BBI proposal that they argue do not need can actually still pass. Now, they've just highlighted some of them here on this particular daily, and some of those proposals that MPs want to pass through the House, and by doing so, they will bypass the lengthy process of collecting and verification of 1 million signatures. They will also bypass the having the 47 county assemblies debate on these particular proposals, and at least 24 of them having to pass it. Now, they are some of the proposals that they are looking to pass through the House. Number one, increasing constituencies from 290 to 360. The protection of 26 constituencies that did not meet the population criteria in 2012. Nomination of presidential candidates and their running mates to parliament after a general election. Then they also look at elected legislators in counties and national government to be made members of the cabinet. We'll be giving you more details of this, but I don't know if this story has been featured on your paper, Doreen or Regina. Yeah, actually, it's like I mentioned even in your beginning, highlighting what the front pages of the different dailies had. This is actually what has been highlighted this morning very clearly, the front page of the People Daily, and perhaps even also as Victor will be tackling that conversation going forward. I think maybe also one of the things that perhaps Kenyans would want to understand is that we saw the NASA principal saying that he will not in any way argue or not in any way perhaps want to go forth with even trying to appeal or anything of that sort. But right now, Paul Kihara, the AG, has said that this is what he's going to do. He's going to appeal that particular judgment to the Supreme Court, and he has three various forms or three grounds on appeal. And perhaps I can just mention one. That is the popular initiative, where the AG is saying that there is no provision in the Constitution barring the president from initiating amendments to the Constitution through popular initiative. So he says that there's nowhere in the Constitution where there's that provision. But of course, he had various conversations saying that it was wrong for the president to have initiated this kind of amendment. So perhaps even as trying to raise this question is all about how much as Kenyans or how much as citizens did we even understand this BBI from the word go. And even as we are trying to see all these developments, even as we gear up for 2022 general election, do we really understand what is happening? Do we really understand perhaps these particular rulings or even judgments, what do they mean for you as a Kenyan? What do they mean for me as a Kenyan? So I guess there's a lot of conversation surrounding this particular bill. Much as it was shelved by the Court of Appeal and also initially by the High Court, and perhaps also
terms of what the AG wants to do next, I really feel there's a lot of conversation and perhaps there's a lot of enlightening that needs to be done just for the Kenyans to understand what exactly this means altogether.
So liwe liwalo tutapata BBI in one.
Yeah, that's why it's important to understand whether ametoa ama hajatoa. It's just
in one
important.
version or the other, one form or the other.
The remaining bit is now political. So either way, the way you've said it, we'll find it somewhere.
You say that either way with such reckless resign, like sasa kambaya mbaya.
It was a political procedure, and therefore we just expect anything to go. Moving to the next step, because when it's go to Parliament, it's political now.
Absolutely.
Right.
And now allies of Deputy President William Ruto and Musalia Mudavadi want President Kenyatta to refund them the money that was used.
And now, Vic, as you say, when it goes to Parliament, is now political, so that the question perhaps would remain, where's the place of that Wanjiko? Where's the place of Kenya that we keep talking about Wanjiko?
Swali mufti, Kongole kwa Doreen, Kongole.
Where's that place?
Nile wiki, mmesahau Nile wiki.
Oh, we are going
Nile wiki.
to Western.
Wambui, this is, today is on a Monday, serious day.
Tumesema tu Nile wiki.
Si Nile wiki, kwani?
Aya basi.
Makofi, Nanderemo, good question. What is the place of Wanjiko in all this? We are saying that we are doing this for Wanjiko, but is Wanjiko
involved?
the priority? Is she included when these decisions are being made? And I go back to that particular broadcast. If you missed it, it was uploaded on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. We had our reporters stationed in various parts of the country, and from the vox pop that was carried out at random, by the way, a majority of Kenyans have not interacted with this bill, in as much as we were waiting for that judgment on Friday. They do not know, and what they know has been informed by the media. But have we done it justice?
Have we done it justice?
All right. Okay. Some of the stories now. Over 2,000 bullets recovered in Laikipia. Herders had earlier attacked National Police Reserve, and multi-agency teams are investigating the source of more than 2,000 bullets that were recovered from a group of herders in the ongoing operation in Laikipia. The 2,640 bullets were recovered by rangers from the Westgate Community Conservancy, who are part of the larger team in the operation to drive out herders from the private ranch. The case of herders and killings in Laikipia has been ongoing for quite some time. And if you go to that area, most schools are actually closed because of the insecurity.
You know, the ironic bit of all this, and this is something that you actually mentioned, I think it was sometime last year, Regina, whenever we are getting closer and closer to the general elections, what happens? And in specific areas.
Exactly. So remember,
these rustling cases start increasing.
Yeah.
A lot of violence between tribes, and all this is catalyzed, especially so as we gear up towards the general elections.
And Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i was there somehow a month ago and said that they were going to act decisively. Yeah.
When you talk about matters of cattle rustling, there's a whole unit, AP unit, I think, that has been set aside to just follow up on that, because cattle rustling is very lucrative if you look at it in terms of business.
Yeah.
If you look at it in terms
funding
of business, it's actually someone somewhere is making a lot of money in the wrong way and costing people untold misery. People lose their lives, they get maimed and such. And this is something that is ever occurring. And I like, Jane, where you're putting it. Towards the general election, we start seeing pockets of insecurity left, right, and center. And if we dig deeper and investigations are done, you'll find that at some point, there's a political hand in all this. That's when we come to realize, oh, I come from the mountain, oh, so-and-so doesn't come from the mountain. It is always towards the election. That's when we remember how diverse we are. But when we are watching our athletes, we don't know. We don't know where we came from. But when it comes to our elections, we remember
Our tribal boundaries.
Yes, and that is a problem. And one of the things that the BBI sought to bring it is that, and this is a clause that I'd want also to look at, or rather the proposal, is that we do not have a definitive winner per se in these elections, but you have an all-inclusive leadership so that it tries to tamper down this aggression, uyunim tuetu, uyunim tuakwetu, la 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 la, and such. But why can't we do it at this point? Because the Kenya shilling serves all of us. It's not indiscriminate that this is from Central, this one is from Luo Nyanza. If we suffer inflation, we suffer inflation, all of us.
Yeah.
We need to just think, remember that we are one. When we bleed, when we are cut and we bleed, our blood is red. You know, it doesn't change color because of where we come from. And I think it's a high time we started having that conversation. Civic education, what is the media doing to enlighten and empower Wanjiko as we head towards the general election? Because I think this is imperative. The political temperatures right now, it is too hot. It is too hot. It's getting too hot. Doreen.
Just basic civic education, you're really putting it well correct. And I mean, I don't really understand why very serious matters, serious issues always have to be politicized. In just a way, it has to be sort of political. And I think it's just from that kind of analogy, that's why we begin to think, wait, I'm actually Luya, by the way. You know, you're actually Meru. Just around this, normally around this time, the way you're trying to say, but I don't really get it why we have to always politicize serious matters and serious issues. We are clearly just one. We are Kenyan. On the way you're trying to say that, we all use the same shilling. When we see our athletes out there, we are all Kenyans. But when we are just about the election, some of those things that really need to bring us together in terms of even choosing and getting leaders, then we realize that, wait a minute, kama si mtu wangu anaingia hapo, then there has to be chaos, there has to be some sort of violence. Really, where is the place again of civic education all the time? Not just when we are about to get into that space of elections, but constantly, continuously, all the time.
Well, yeah. It's a cycle that we hope will break. The sooner the better. Now, let me take you to this story here on the back page of the Daily Nation. And it's in regards to missing Form 1 students. So thousands of Form 1s are yet to report to school. And this is after both deadlines for being admitted to school have already passed. So thousands of them have been reported to not have reported to school. And this, of course, is a direct stab towards the 100% transition policy that the government has been trying to implement. This is a huge blow because as per the Ministry of Education, they have reported that some regions have only admitted about 60% of their population of the candidates who sat for the KCPE exam. And as per the last briefing that was a couple of weeks ago, the ministry revealed that 10% of learners had yet to report to school by the initial deadline, which was the 6th of August, prompting them to push it to the 13th. And now that particular percentage represents 117,000 out of the 1.1 million candidates who sat for their KCPE exams. And after a spot check by this particular daily, they reported that many learners that were admitted to extra county schools have the national schools and extra county schools have recorded extremely high admissions as opposed to other levels of schools. And this, of course, is something that the ministry is looking into, trying to understand why so many schools have not taken up the Form 1s that were admitted there. And Professor Magoha will actually kickstart this process today in Mombasa, because the coast region is one of the worst affected when it comes to students who have not reported to Form 1. So he will be doing that spot check and round up all the Form 1s that are yet to report to school.
All right. So there's a story here, and I know this is quite familiar. So a family has lost more than 50 goats and sheep to the 5 marauding leopards in the Oloo area of Kajiado Central. The attack that happened on Saturday evening is estimated to have cost the family more than 500,000 shillings. The leopards also ate the udders of some sheep and goats. But this is the story. The owner, retired Principal Chief Joshua Kasaro, told the newspaper here that after the attack, he called Kenya Wildlife Service scouts, but was told they lacked fuel for their vehicles.
Tukifunga hii maneno, we always talk about wildlife-human conflict.
They lacked fuel.
But when you look at where Kajiado is, that is an animal transport corridor. So I think we are the ones invading into their territory. So something needs to be done. Well, as we bring in the headlines to a close, just to remind you that Moderna vaccine is in the country. 880,000 doses have arrived this morning, and government intends to increase its capacity as far as the vaccination exercise is concerned. Currently, we have 800 outlets that are offering the vaccination of the AstraZeneca. Government intends to increase this to 3,000, and it P.S. Muchache, just taking what she had to say when she was addressing the media at JKI this morning, she said that the facilities that have been rolling out the AstraZeneca vaccination will continue with the AstraZeneca. Well, the others, if it's Moderna, if it's Pfizer, if it's Johnson & Johnson, that is it. Trying not to just cross-mix these vaccines. However, all these vaccines that we are receiving have been certified by the WHO.